and welcome to POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies, bringing you the news you can use as it pertains to the idiocracies in politics. I don't care if you're Republican, Democratic, Libertarian, Independent. There's something you can get from this broadcast. Knowledge is key, and the key to your freedom is knowledge. Vote. Don't forget to vote. Tell someone you know who isn't voting to vote. And don't throw away your vote. Listen to politics so you know how to vote, so you know how to make an impact and do what you gotta do to have a better future for you and your family too. POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. I'm going to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do when it comes to voting. Get the information you need from this guy indeed. And that's POLI-TRICKS. And welcome to another episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. Today's topic is Merc. What you got?
All right. I got a lot of stuff. I'm going to try and get it condensed down because we have a very special topic to talk about in about half an hour or so, maybe less. So I'm going to try and get this. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. It's hard to pick the best ones, but I'm going to do my best. So let's start with something real quick. Let's start with Alex Jones. And I had just heard about this morning, and it's dangerous but hilarious at the same time. Anybody who's ever watched Alex Jones or even seen Alex Jones, you will just look at him as, I don't want this person, I don't want to even walk in the same block as this person, much less buy stuff from them. So this is the guy who thinks that tap water's turning frogs gay, that Sandy Hook was a false flag operation and they were like child actors, and some of them had to die to make it look real because, you know, as they know, even fake wars need casualties, right? This guy sells, you know, to support his show, he sells health supplements. So I would not buy anything from this guy. But here's the thing, and this is from an article that I pulled up. In new research commissioned by the Center for Environmental Health, it determined that two products sold by Alex Jones contain potentially dangerous levels of lead, which is universally known to be harmful to the body. The chemical was found in InfoWars, and this is the real name of the stuff, Caveman Paleo Formula, and the InfoWars Myco ZX supplements. People who take the daily recommended dose of the formula product would ingest more than twice the daily limit for lead under California law. People who take the Myco ZX product would ingest more than 6 times the daily limit for lead under California law. Now, I will say, I don't know where this stuff comes from. I don't know where he gets these supplements from. I'm guessing China because it has lead in it, and everything in China has lead.
Whoa, Merc. Something got lost in translation.
Right.
You're telling me that he's selling a supplement, you know, like I take a vitamin or I take ginseng or biotin or whatever, and it has lead in it that harms the human mind and body?
Yes. It does.
You're lying. Shut the fuck up.
No, I had to actually verify that because I thought about it. I'm like, okay, that has to be some sort of smear job against Alex Jones. I don't like him, but I don't want to smear him. But no, that's what they found. And we don't know.
California doesn't allow stuff like that in their state. That means he can't sell it there.
He really shouldn't be able to sell it anywhere if it has that much lead.
Other states are more lax regarding our lead laws. You ask your water company to send you the results from the last water test in your county, and look at the levels and look at what's actually allowed to be permitted to be safe. And we're talking about things such as arsenic, fluoride, all dangerous things to the human body. And people probably say, fluoride, we use that to brush our teeth. Highly toxic to the human mind and body. But anyway, as you were saying.
That's probably why the British are smarter than us, but have worse teeth because they don't use
their teeth are toe up, right? You know, they British girl, right? I love her to death. But her teeth are straight. I think she like American Two-Face or whatever. But her dad was like, oh, you're dating a brownie, eh? You know, they talk a little bit different. Oh, actually, that ain't kind of more Scottish. Okay, forget that one.
But I don't understand. Like, I feel bad for people who are. Now, here's the thing. This is still a new story, so we don't know if anyone has been harmed by this yet, right? Because, like Blue said, they every state has a different allowance for certain things. So even if they said twice the normal daily limit for lead, okay, even though you're not supposed to be ingesting lead anyway, because it's horribly harmful, especially in children, which is why they banned lead paint in the 70s, because a lot of kids were getting lead.
They need to ban lead pencils. These kids chewing on the pencils and stuff.
But so we don't know if anyone's been hurt yet. So we'll see. But just the fact that it tested like that, because I mean, you really think that Alex Jones cares what's in this stuff so long as he sells it to people? I don't think.
Nah, you don't give a damn, because the effects take a little bit, before they go into full effect. Two, right. You can easily deflect to something else. Like, can they really pinpoint it was my supplements, which are supposed to help you? Likely not. You can blame it on the water, because the water is just as toxic and just as messed up as these things are. I promise you. I mean, I really want you to talk to your water company and get that last water tested. It's going to blow your mind. I promise you. We need to talk about that shit.
Yeah. And there's more than one.
I got the one for Durham County. It was so amazing to me, the stuff they let pass through. I was like, if boiling water don't do it, damn. I mean, this stuff that they haven't,
right.
They let pass through. Boiling water don't get rid of arsenic. It's still going to be arsenic, you know what I'm saying? It might get rid of germs, but they can get rid of the what did they say? There was a high concentration of psychopharmaceutical medications. Okay, all those passed because there's no EPA limit on those being in the water, because they never ever thought that would be in the water supply. But
right.
I digress.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, and true to your word, we're very reactive when it comes to these things. We're not very proactive. We always, we're always closing the barn door after the horses have already left. So that's just America. It will not change anytime soon. Real quick, switch subjects. JFK, something I never thought I'd ever be talking about in this lifetime. Of course, we know, what was it, 54 years today? Or if I have my dates right, John F. Kennedy was murdered in Dallas. And now Trump is actually, and I had to have known better that Trump didn't figure this thing off the top of his head. But bear with me here. This is from CNN. Okay, talking about Trump's tweet to release presidential documents concerning JFK. So Trump's tweet comes as he is staring down an October 26th deadline set in law by Congress mandating the public release of the still secret documents, including FBI and CIA files, barring any action by the president to block the release of certain documents. Subject to the release of further information, this is Trump talking, I will be allowing, as president, the long blocked and classified JFK files to be opened. Trump said, appearing to leave open the possibility that some documents could still be withheld. A White House official told reporters Saturday the president believes that these documents should be made available in the interest of full transparency unless agencies provide a compelling and clear national security or law enforcement justification.
Whoa.
Here's my thing.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Because something got lost in translation. I'm not a native English speaker. Did you say full transparency? Define that.
Yes, I did. And I'm laughing because that's the part that caught my eye as well, but go ahead.
Can you explain that concept to me, please, real quick? Full transparency.
Full transparency in Donald Trump speak means that you have to disclose everything, but I don't have to disclose anything. So I don't have to tell you my tax returns. I don't have to give you my guest list for Mar-a-Lago or Air Force One or anything. But you, if you're not fully transparent, then you're hiding something. That's the way it is in Trump speak. So when he said that thing about full transparency, I'm like, The fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, because we haven't got any of the information that we've requested through public access that I recall that's really pertinent to this administration. And we don't say his name anymore. Remember, we use acronyms or we use aliases. But we're not going to do that. The CIA and FBI, I'm tired of them talking to me about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with it. I said, you need to talk to Mercer. Stop talking to me about it. I didn't say anything. I edited the stuff I talked about out.
You know what? I will tell you this. This is how dumb our president is. You know, he's really digging in the heels of the FBI and the CIA. And if they gave him a parade in Dallas, he would go, and they'd be telling him, hey, listen, we're giving you a parade in Dallas in your honor, right? You know, you get in the convertible, you smile and you wave, and make sure you stand up so that the photographers can get a good headshot of you. You know, I know that's horrible to talk about assassinating a president, and don't think that I didn't worry that somebody might try and take a shot at Obama when he was president. But, I mean, it almost feels like he's asking for it. I don't know why. Like, why would you go against your own intelligence community? I don't. And here's the thing. If there was something in those JFK files that need to be released, I'm not worried about the releasing of the files on its own, right? Public records, blah, 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 that's fine. It's just the timing of it. You know, any frisbee that Trump can throw at the media to get them off his scent, he'll do it. So this is not something that he just thought up off the top of his head.
Some got lost in translation.
Yep.
Like, what is he trying to throw us off the scent for right now? I mean, I don't remember him really being in this shit, to be honest.
Robert Mueller is closing in for the kill, and he's more of like a silent assassin. So Mueller is not out there like some of these other investigators who are just constantly talking their every move. You know, if something happens, it's because somebody saw Mueller talking to someone. So he's not out there, you know, just broadcasting his every move.
So basically, you saying this Mueller guy, he's saying, I ain't saying nothing until I got the definitive Bible to put this bastard away.
Yeah. Mueller, I mean, you figure it like this, right? When Republicans complain about Mueller taking so long in the investigation, don't forget, Watergate was going on when Trump. Jesus Christ, I'm all over the place again. Watergate was still going on when Nixon still ran for president. So the whole time Nixon ran for president, Watergate was still going on.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I don't know that history. Did Watergate happen before he became president or during his presidency?
It happened during his presidency, but it lasted until his re-election. He got re-elected during the whole Watergate scandal. So. Oh
man, that is crazy. I don't even know that history. I didn't come into the country until '95. So that's what's up.
Yeah. So that investigation took a long, long time. You figure with Whitewater, and that's why I got it mixed up. Ken Starr was looking into Whitewater. Now figure Bill Clinton was president in the 90s. Whitewater happened in the 70s. And then they didn't find anything. They found out that Bill Clinton did no wrongdoing in that Whitewater real estate thing. So then he just kept digging.
No, what you meant to say is Bill Clinton paid the right one. Watch that now.
So basically, Ken Starr went from crooked real estate deal to, Monica Lewinsky. You understand how broad that was? So now when they complain about Robert Mueller, you know, digging into Trump's finances and stuff like that, yeah, he has that power. He could do that. You know, and there's no precedent that they could put it up against because everybody had their broad powers to investigate whatever it took to find out we know Trump's a crook. We just need to find a candlestick with his fingerprints on it. That's all we need to do. We already know he's a crook. That goes without saying. You don't get 3,500 lawsuits because you're a great guy.
See, I don't know. I don't think he's such a crook we make him out to be, because if that's the case, why he ain't got blown up yet? I mean, not blown up like literally. Like, why anybody blow up his spot? Like,
it's like you said. He pays the right people.
One more thing, because I'm going to forget. Been smoking all damn day. Hold on now. Like Larry Flint put out that $1 million thing. I don't know if that's a hoax, but
$10 million.
As disgusting as he is, he really is a man of his word from what I remember. Why somebody should have said something by now. I want that money. I'm trying to think of something I could come up with.
You figure it like this, right? If you take a bribe, then you're still, like, put it like this. That's how I knew that Michael Jackson trial was bullshit. Because you had Michael Jackson's servants or housekeepers or whoever they were detailing all the stuff that they saw, but under the law, if you watch a child being abused and you don't say anything, you go to jail. That's
they might have asked for blanket protection. You know what I'm saying?
They might have. But it may be a situation like that. Like, they may have their fingerprints and stuff, too, that they don't want put out there like that. Which is why they're keeping their mouth shut. Because I'll tell you right now, for that $10 million, I'll be singing like Barry White. Forget that. But then again, I don't know much about Larry Flint. He might not pay either. He might be like Trump.
Give me the money, baby. Trump, I'm gonna snitch on Trump, yeah.
Exactly. He might not pay me either, and then I'll be stuck, because then I'll be in prison and broke.
Not my best Barry White impression, huh?
God rest Barry White's soul. So many women got pregnant to his music. But but put it like this whole JFK thing, it just happened to fall into his lap, and he just figured, you know what, it's on me to recertify this. I'm not going to do it. Let's let the press get off my scent for a little bit, because, you know, they're on Trump all the time, you know, and if Trump's not doing something stupid, his doofus kids are doing something stupid. So, and put it like this, to go back to your earlier point, there was a point where Jared and Ivanka were going. Was it Jared and Ivanka? I think they were going to get indicted for fraud, and the right people got paid, and then the case never made it to trial. So Trump is good at that sort of thing. I mean, you figure he had to pay a $25 million settlement for Trump University.
Dollar bill, y'all.
I mean, you figure a president-elect settling a $25 million fraud lawsuit. That doesn't tell you he's not a crook. Of course he's a crook. I know Richard Nixon is in hell looking up at Trump like, the fuck? Really? This guy's president? Come on. As corrupt as Nixon was. You know, it's absolutely insane. So, and one more thing I want to talk about before we get to the main thing is Niger, if I'm pronouncing that right, because I see the name and I never tried to pronounce it until this whole thing went on. It's an ever-changing story, you know, because there's been 2 weeks since this thing happened, and Trump didn't say a word until he was actually called on it by a reporter. And if that reporter didn't call him on it, he would never have mentioned it. Right? We've had troops in Niger since 2013, but they're not combat forces. So we have about 800 soldiers out there helping French troops tackle Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS, you know, troops that are in Africa. So they run like a drone station, so they're not really combat troops, right? So what little we know so far is that about a dozen Green Berets got ambushed by about 50 ISIS fighters. So there was a intense firefight. 4 of them went down. 3 of the bodies were able to be recovered immediately. One of them, this is his last name Wilson. David Wilson, was that his last name? I don't know why I'm not looking at my notes. My back is to my computer because I'm getting into my talking here. But his body was not recovered for almost 2 days. Matter of fact, it's going to be a closed casket funeral. You know, so it was pretty bad. And the thing is, like I said, new stuff is coming up every day. Like, for one, they didn't go out there with the proper support. They weren't in a bulletproof vehicle. You know, their intelligence told them that they weren't supposed to be any opposition fighters out there. Matter of fact, they were supposed to be supporting some African troops, and the troops didn't even show. So now they're thinking that the locals may have been involved in the ambush. So there's a lot going on. And supposedly the air support, how David got left out there is because supposedly, and this is the part I'm still trying to verify, instead of the military picking them up out there, it was a contractor, kind of like Blackwater, that picked them up. And they didn't do a head count. So that's how they end up leaving without him. You know, it was just absolutely a super, super botched job. And there's a lot going on, so I'm going to cover more on that later. But here's my thing, right? You figure when Benghazi happened, before the last body hit the ground, Republicans were just like pressuring Obama and pressuring Hillary Clinton to say something about it, right? You figure Trump didn't mention this for 2 weeks. 2 weeks before he even mentioned it. So the news media is focusing on Trump's interaction with the widow, which was a whole nother story of just horribleness by Donald Trump. But instead of focusing on that, the main thing they should be focusing on is how in the hell did this happen in the first place? How in the hell did our soldiers get ambushed? Bad intelligence, bad backup, you know, didn't have the right materials out there. How did that happen? That's what they should be focusing on. So now, in the defense of like Washington Post and CNN, you know, they're trying their best to piece it all together. You know, but the thing is, this happened 2 weeks ago, but because it was just never mentioned. You know, do you think that Obama could have got away with that? Of having something like that happen and then him not mentioning it for 2 weeks, pretending like it didn't happen? And not even coming out and saying, hey, listen, we had the situation happen in Niger. We're trying to piece together all this situation. We'll let you know as soon as we get all the information. He didn't even do that. He just tried to pretend like it didn't happen. Do you think Obama would have got away with that? They would have put him on the cross for doing that. You know, but what are you going to do? You know, it's the Republicans. It's, you know, it's like expecting a bad guy to do good for once. It's like expecting Dr. Doom to help an old lady cross the street, you know, and then being surprised when he doesn't. They're the villains of this whole thing. They're America's villains, and we can't expect them to do good. And when they do good, that just means that they're just going to do 2 bad things afterwards. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, right? But think about it along the terms. Think of when's the last time Republicans passed a bill that has helped anyone, other than the top 1% of the 1%.
Give me a second. I know this answer. Nobody, really. Not I want to say the 1%, but the top tier, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or to help their bottom line or to further their monetary gain.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that. That's the last thing I want to say. But it seems to be the truth. I can't think of them passing anything that was beneficial. Oh, let's help these businesses. Okay, you don't want to pay taxes here? Let's give them some more tax cuts.
Right.
Oh, these small businesses, no, let's not help them as much. Let's help these large corporations that have profits of $880 million or $1 billion, and let's help them make more money. Oh, he's getting his severance pay? Oh, let's make sure he gets $280 million to walk away from the company he fucked up. Blase.
I've never understood that concept of the golden parachute for somebody who bankrupted a company. They joked about that on that show, The Boondocks, where Ed Asner's character was talking with his Chinese counterpart, and he was telling him, you know, in China, if a businessman loses $1 billion, they'd execute him. But in America, if he loses $1 billion, they give him $1 billion more. You know, it's I've never understood the concept.
Is it still on the air?
No, I don't think so. I know they tried to do it for a season 2 without Aaron Magruder, but I don't know how that went. So they still had the same cast, but just no Aaron Magruder in the background. So I'm like, I'm not even going to try and do it to myself, because Aaron Magruder is what made the show funny. You know. Right,
I didn't watch it when they made him, and they took him off of CEO duties or whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't even watching it like that anyway. So I definitely started watching it after that.
Yeah, I was for the first
Black Samurai. Have you ever watched Black Samurai?
I was watching Black Dynamite. That show was kind of funny.
Maybe that's what I'm talking about. Well, maybe there's a Black Samurai, Black Dynamite. Anyways, we digress. But there's one more thing I want to talk about. I saw the movie It Follows last night. Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I have. And I will say that was the first movie in a long time that actually kind of made my, it kind of got to me,
and back you up, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it kind of got to me, and then it just kind of makes you think. And not, it's still a relatively new movie, and it's on Netflix, so I don't want to spoil.
Right, that's what I saw last night. You inspired me to watch some horror movies. So that was one of the first ones I wanted to watch. Tonight I'm going to watch the one called Contracted. It's kind of like a girl, she catches it from a sexual fling, and Yeah.
And then I saw the Babysitter, which is like a horror comedy. It was actually pretty good. And then I just saw an ad for one. They just started streaming on Netflix called 1922. It's like a Stephen King thing. And it looks.
Yeah, I saved it. I don't know what that's about just yet. I'm gonna catch that later on.
Yeah, it looks really good. And if you get a chance, I know I'm just rattling off here. If you get a chance, VHS and VHS 2 on Netflix.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of like a found footage thing, but it's like an anthology. Watch it when you get a chance. Stick with it. It's actually really good. It's definitely different. So, but anyway, let me know when you're back in the studio, Blue.
Sunday, December 4th. Uptown Poetry Lounge, hosted by Church the Poet and Desana Hanu at Uptown Bar and Lounge, 5504 Durham Chapel Hill Boulevard, Suite B, Durham, North Carolina, 7 p.m., $7 cover, poetry, spoken word, singing, comedy, live vinyl experience with DJ Vespertine. Hey. For more information, dial 919-729-9939.
And it's horrible when sexual assault blends in with anything, And before I start running my mouth, do we have our guest on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So, and I'll put it like this, I'm going to say my quick piece, and I'm going to open up the floor to everybody else. But I was watching an article caught my eye. I was going through my articles at lunchtime, and they talked about Ariel Winter. I don't know if you know who Ariel Winter is. She plays, is it Alex Dunphy? Is that her name? From Modern Family? And they were talking about, basically, she started out in the show as a little girl, and as she was growing up, by the time she was 15, she had F-cup breasts. So as a teenager, that's kind of, I don't even want to call it a gift. I'll just call it, in this day and age, it's kind of a curse to be that endowed and be that young, because you're instantly objectified. And I always joked about, well, half joking, half real, because I don't have kids, but if I had kids, 3 things I'd never let them do, and as far as entertainment-wise: be a pro wrestler, play professional football, or be a child actor or actress. Because I haven't heard any tales about Ariel Winter, but just the fact that all they talk about is her body, right? And the fact that her mother's a crackpot doesn't help. But forget the fact of all her movie and TV credits, the fact that she's a talented voice actress. All everyone ever talks about is her body. When she was 17, she had to get a breast reduction because her back was killing her, from lugging those things around. Not meaning to sound chauvinistic, but, I could imagine, put it like this. I don't have the man boobs, but just my belly alone is a strain on my back. So I can imagine, as a 15-year-old, carrying around a pair of F-cup breasts, the damage it could do to your back. So when she was 17, she had a breast reduction, But it just made me, and reading that article right after the whole thing with Harvey Weinstein, was like, God forbid that they ever work together. Harvey Weinstein has had more than 50 women come out and make allegations against him, and now the FBI is investigating him for rape. Right. So it's, in this day and age, it's a terrible thing, And one thing that's been bothering me lately is that, when they had the hashtag, the Me Too hashtag, how many of my female friends, whether they be single, whether they be married, whether they have kids, I've been seeing that hashtag pop up a lot on my Facebook feed. No. So I'm going to open it up to you guys before I get back into the politics of it. But how would you approach someone who's been sexually assaulted? And like I said, when I say sexually assaulted, I don't know if they've been groped, harassed, or even raped or anything like that, you know. But I mean, is that something that you would approach someone on, or is that something that you would let them come to you? Or because you don't want to let your friend suffer in silence, and just the fact they're putting out, you know, the Me Too is brave enough. But is that something that you would? Is that a subject that you would start up with them? You know.
Let's open the floor to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let's ask the our special guest from Tennessee, Tina, the social worker from Tennessee. Can you open the floor to that question?
Yes.
How do you approach somebody who's your friend or who's going through such a tragedy? How do you engage them or show support, especially like Burke said when he saw some of his friends and associates with the hashtag Me Too?
Well, that subject alone is just, very, very, very touchy. And I remember when I first came upon the Me Too movement that was happening, and I just so happened to, share it, and I actually put my age. And with me, I can say my first sexual harassment happened at the age of 6 years old. And that's why it's so touchy, because at the age of 6 years old, you don't know what's going on. You're still growing. And especially, if it becomes like, a heavier situation where it leads to like, rape or being molested, it creates like trauma and leads to PTSD later on in life. With me, I've worked with several teenagers, and I've worked with human trafficking victims as well in Tennessee. And with every client, it's different. You have to take a different approach because, yes, with me, I'm the type of person I like to hit it head on, but you won't get the same response from everybody else or the victim. So it's just like you have to make your own judgment. You have to build rapport with the client or your friends first, and then see how they want to go, about like trying to seek counseling or trying to, rectify the situation, because sexual harassment, is very, very touching. It's like a really sad subject, actually.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like you don't want to make a situation worse when you're trying to make it better.
Yes, and you don't want to re-traumatize the victim, actually. That's the hardest part. Because, I have personal, just like I stated, I have personal situations where, the perpetrator, let's say when I was later on in my teenage years and I didn't see the perpetrator for like some time, and then he reminded me of the situation. So that right there, and then you realize like, wow, like, my mind has blocked out all of this from happening, and this guy just reminding me of the situation. That right there just opened up another can of worms. So you find yourself, not being able to concentrate, feeling like it's your fault, especially if you feel like you didn't go to anybody, and your family don't know, and you were keeping it a secret. You might think that people think that you like what's going on. So that right there is very, very traumatizing.
Yeah. And what would you say to people who are not so sensitive to it? Like I see a lot of people on the interwebs, as I like to call it sometimes, on the forums, and they were like, "Well, why'd you wait so long to come out?" And how'd you get in that situation? What do you confront those people, or do you just let them just wallow in their own ignorance? Because I kind of think it's dangerous to do so, but I don't always want to be the confrontational type. But sometimes I just can't let that go.
Yeah, well, that right there is another form of victim blaming, because that person, you can tell that person has never been in the shoes of the victim. Because if you're going to blame the victim for something like that, then that person is, is victim blaming, and they've never been in that situation. So being the type of person that I am, I will call them out and make sure that I give them their raps. So, but it's just like, you will meet ignorant people. You will meet people who have never been in certain situations, and who probably will, be the loved ones who will never, in life will go through that situation. But the thing is, like, with, the type of person I am, I know me personally, I would nip it in the butt, and I would make that person, feel bad. And, take that chance to just, talk to them and try to form, a conversation around, and try to, in hopes that I'm educating them on something.
Right.
So, I mean, it's always a good, opportunity for somebody to learn something, especially if they're ignorant to whatever is going on. I know that I've worked with several human trafficking victims in Tennessee, and I've worked with teenagers who, basically were in residential. And most of the teenagers that I work with, they have been sexually harassed, abused, something relating to something, sexual trauma.
Right.
So it's like, when you do, sometimes like for teenagers, like sometimes as an adult, you have to kind of like make that choice for them, but you don't want to hurt them in the long run, but you want to make them be aware that they have a voice. Because when you're a victim of sexual harassment, any type of sexual harassment, you lose your voice, because that person takes away your power. So, helping them out in that situation is to help them get their voice, and helping them to understand that, hey, it's not your fault. That person was just, a horrible person.
Right.
And, get them resources, so that they don't have to carry this into adulthood. Because, it creates mental health on that person. So, and, mental health, even as far as suicide.
Yeah, and it's a tough thing. Or, I mean, you got, between suicide and then the chance that they may become abusers themselves. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. With becoming abusers, perpetrating other people, because they were victims, and they don't know how to help themselves, actually.
Yeah. I know it's a weird tie-in, but I listen to a lot of heavy metal, and there's a band I listen to called Tool, and one of their songs, and I always wondered, how did this song get on the radio? But it was a song called Prison Sex. So the song starts with a man in prison being raped, and by the end of the song, he's raping other people, to kind of get his control back, because, in the beginning he felt helpless, and now he's, raping other people to kind of, in his own way, get his sanity back, So, and I know in prison, out of prison, as an adult, as a child, it's, it's a horrible thing to deal with, but I don't want people to think that, especially in Hollywood, especially for kids, that sort of thing is normal. Because now you have Corey Feldman coming out and saying that, he was abused. And I saw a story, I didn't get a chance to double check it because I didn't really trust the source, but one of the kids who was in Stranger Things, which season 2 starts next week, supposedly fired his manager because of allegations of sexual, I don't know if it was sexual harassment or sexual abuse, but, I'm like, nobody's safe,
Do you remember the Pussycat Dolls?
Yes.
Yes, like, there has been, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I've been seeing it around, social media, that, one of the members from, the Pussycat Dolls were saying, like, you guys have been blinded, this whole thing was like doing the Pussycat Dolls, it was like a prostitution. That's I mean, I could look back on it, but, you know, I'm just trying to open that for you to, you know, go into and look in it, you know, as
right.
the one it's subject is.
Yeah, it's rough, but I think some people in that business think that, you know, they just have to play ball in order to get ahead. You know, like what happened with Roger Ailes and what's his name, Bill O'Reilly. You know, that I mean,
you know, Bill O'Reilly, you know, Donald Trump, like, you know, all those people who are in power and who, you know, feel like, you know, that they can, you know, get away with it, and some actually do.
Yeah. There was the congressman, Dennis Hastert, who when he was a high school teacher and coach, you know, he was molesting young boys, and one of them confided in his sister. And she asked him, like, why don't you go forward with this? And he was like, well, no one's going to believe me. And I think one of the things that really pushed it forward was that when that young man died of AIDS, Dennis Hastert actually showed up at his funeral, and his sister was furious. You know.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
But he ended up not going to prison for molesting the young boys because it was past the statute of limitations. He ended up going to prison for using government money as hush money to pay them off, to keep them silent.
Wow.
You know? And that's another dynamic that people tend to gloss over. They're like, well, if he took the money, then that means it was consensual. Or if they took the money, that means that that they enjoyed it, or whatever ridiculous thing they come up with. But, you know, like with Bill Cosby and all this other stuff, it was like, you know what? They probably took the money because they felt that they couldn't win.
Yeah, that is true. Especially when the person is, you know, have a high rank and, you know, have people to, you know, back them up. It's the power. That's like, you know, that's something that keeps a lot of people quiet too. But, you know, it really helps when, you know, when the victim, or, you know, when the person has, like, you know, support, you know, like a good support, somebody who is not afraid to, you know, talk them into, you know, just talking about it. Because, you know, don't you realize that, you know, when one person talks about it, other people come forward? Yeah.
It just opens up the floodgates, and people find their courage and find their strength, which is why I'm all for extending the statute of limitations on rape. Because a lot of times...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. But I was just saying that I think I've heard too many stories, like with Dennis Hastert and with others, where they may end up getting away with it. So they may face social consequences of it, but not face any prison time because the statute of limitations is expired. I know California, I believe, either extended it or is working on extending the statute of limitations for rape. I'd have to look that up. But I think it should be extended federally, you know.
Oh, yes. It should be extended everywhere. I think, you know, two weeks ago I had a situation of sexual harassment. You know, my part-time job, every so often I drive for Uber. And, you know, I just remember just picking up this one guy. And, you know, as soon as he got into my car, he said, wow, you're the sexiest black woman I've ever seen. And then he was like, and that's a good thing because I don't see too much sexy black women. And it's just like, you know, first of all, you know, he hit me with that, and then he gave, you know, and then he threw in some microaggressions with that. So it's just like, and I said, that's unfortunate for you because I know a lot of beautiful black women. And, you know, he was just like, you know, he's like, you just have your glasses on and just make you look so sexy. And then it was just like, you know, that whole time I was like, what did I get myself into driving Uber tonight? Like, and he was, you know, really, really, you know, he was kind of like drunk too at the same time. He told me he just broke up with his girlfriend. Like, it was just like all these things going on at once, you know, and then I did report him to Uber. And it's just like, you know, Uber just said that, you know, they were just going to make sure that we never cross paths again when it comes to, you know, Uber rideshare. But at the end of the day, he's going to do that to somebody else.
Well, hold on. Let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
How do you define sexual harassment?
harassment is just like, I mean, most people know it as happening at work, but it can happen anywhere. Like, you know, I tell you, like, with me, when I started growing, you know, women parts at a young age. So I just remember walking when I was 10 years old, and this guy in the Jeep was just like, he was old enough to be, I think, my grandpa at the time. He was like, you sure are sexy. You know, actions like that, too. You know, that's sexual harassment. You know, I've had one guy on the city bus ask me if I want to do a threesome with him and his girlfriend. Like, all of that is sexual harassment. Just, you know, people just, you know, just staring at you, too, and just, you know, and even, like, I remember just, you know, going out the country, and, you know, some people are not afraid to do it. They just, you know, take their fingers and just act like, you know, take their fingers, put it between their mouth, and just take their tongues and just, you know, kind of like flick it. So, you know, stuff like that. But sexual harassment is all that. You know, it's like gestures, words, and action. Unwanted.
And I look at it like this, you know, the unwanted part is the most important part. I mean, I think some of it is, you know, I never had that from my parents because my parents are very old school, and they're not, you know, they weren't the, go on, son, let me teach you about the birds and the bees. You know, I never had that conversation with my parents, but they always taught about respect. You know, respect was paramount to them. So I know I couldn't just, you know, in a situation, a social situation, right, like at a party, you know, and I don't drink. But maybe if I saw someone, you know, and strike up a conversation with them, maybe give them a compliment, you know. But not, you know, I'm not one of those, oh, you look good, girl, I can sop you up with a biscuit. I'm not that type of guy, you know. Because, and I hear other people talk like that, and I'm like, they sound ridiculous. Did no one ever teach them how to talk to women or what women like and what they don't like? You know, and I know every woman is not the same, and I know there are some women who actually like that sort of negative attention, but I know a lot of women who don't, who really don't.
I mean, I do understand that. I mean, I remember being young and going to, like, with me, you know, I'm from the Caribbean, so whenever we link up, you know, we have, like, some parties, like, and then we have, like, the older people, like, you know, when I was younger, we would go to parties as a family. And then, you know, with the community knowing each other, that, you know, like, the older guys, like, the older guys would think that it's okay to just, you know, dance with the younger kids and all that stuff, especially, like, the preteens and teenagers, teach them how to dance. But, you know, sometimes you look at them on the dance floor and how they're dancing with these younger kids, it's kind of like, hold on, like, you are just way too up in there. And then, you know, not to, you know, they've been drinking too, and it's kind of like, it's just boundaries. Like, some people just don't know their boundaries. Like, they do, but some people test their boundaries as well. And if they don't get called out for it, they're going to think that it's okay.
Right.
And especially that respect part, like, some people, you know, like, some kids, you know, their parents don't teach them that, but they enforce respect on them. So they get confused as to, like, when to say no, you know, like, the older people. It's kind of like some people, you know, they might confuse it with a compliment until they get older and then start, you know, like, even when they receive that compliment, it's kind of like, oh, that hurt me. I didn't really like that compliment, but thank you anyways, and they just smile. Right. But, you know, I think that, you know, parents should, like, really just teach their kids, like, you know, or continue teaching their kids, like, you know, there are some sick people in this world, and this is how you protect yourself from them, too. And, you know, the people who are, you know, perpetrating, and people who are just, you know, just the bad people, just, right. You know, they need to get called out. They need to be called out. That's not right.
All right, we have a caller. MD Marcus, I have a question for you. At what point does consent begin or end and harassment begins? my microphone working?
Hey,
Mic check 1, 2.
Hey, sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to say it again. At what point does consent end and sexual harassment begin, in your opinion?
I think consent ends at the moment that someone makes it clear that the advance is not wanted, whether that's with, a no, a stop, an attempt to walk away, anything that would indicate, the advance that's being made isn't wanted. That's when sexual harassment begins.
Yeah.
Tina, social worker from Tennessee, what is your opinion regarding when does consent end and harassment begin?
I mean, I pretty much agree with what she said. I do. I agree with what she said.
Yeah. And I will add to that, I know some people aren't always so forward as far as rejecting those advances, to just say no or to just walk away, because I don't want to play the blame game, but maybe it's maybe they didn't have anyone to teach them, so they may not be as explicit in rejecting that advance. So then I think it would fall upon I'm just going to say the attacker, for lack of a better term, to just kind of read the room and say, okay, I'm not wanted here, I'm just going to leave this alone, My sop 'em up with a biscuit joke is not hitting, so I'm just going to walk away. So I think it falls on both, but not in the victim blaming way. But I mean, as far as just knowing, hey, you can go to some places and this sort of thing might fly, and some places it may not fly, and that's only if you don't have that explicit no or that explicit go away. That's just my opinion. That's just one man's opinion.
Mark, I mean, how do you, and you're really, I consider you an expert in politics. How do you think this Me Too movement and all these sexual harassment claims that are coming out, and not discounting them by any means, but how do you believe this is going to impact the current administration?
Oh, the current administration, it'll have no effect. Because if it was going to have an effect, he would never have been elected president. Because you figure it like this, right? Figure it like this. This is what Trump said in his in his little videotape with Billy Bush. He said, "Yeah, that's her with the gold. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. I'm automatically attracted to beautiful women. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait." And when you're a star, they let you do it. You could do anything. Grab him by the pussy. You could do anything. That man is president right now. Okay? If anyone else had said that, that would have been the end of their presidential run. So
Bruh, we've all said things, even on this broadcast, on our previous one called Mock Talk Radio, underneath another umbrella. We said some things that if we ran for president 10, 20 years from now, people will pull up and they'll be like, what? I mean, can we really hold him responsible for what he said 10 years ago?
In that case, yes, because what he's talking about is sexual harassment. It's sexual assault, pretty much, because he's talking about just running up and kissing somebody without their consent. It's a difference between telling a joke or writing a story and actually talking about running up on women and just kissing them and grabbing them by the genitals and not without their consent. That's a huge difference to me. But in this age, we have people who are so into their party and against the other party that they're just willing to make excuses, and that's dangerous. Because you figure all the time that Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes were sexually harassing and sexually assaulting women and just paying them off, all their fans, Bill O'Reilly still had the #1 show on cable news for like 20 years. So it's a dangerous precedent to set, to just say, well, just because he's my guy, I'm going to defend him to the end. Especially in something as serious as sexual assault, because people heard this, they didn't stop to think, well, maybe that might be my daughter one day, or that may be my sister one day. They just figured, well, that's my guy, I'm just going to stick with him until the end, even though he pretty much admitted to being a rapist. So, yeah, so it has, on the current administration, it has zero effect.
And the way he talks about his daughter.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yes.
So creepy. It's just beyond, and she just sits there and just smiles like a little Cupid doll. Like, hee, daddy. Oh, it's so creepy. It's just beyond words.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I mean, when a man says, if an ordinary person said, you know, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd be dating her, that man's not getting invited to the next barbecue. Especially if there's kids around. So, but that's our president. Now,
yes, that's your president. My president. Right.
He's like, don't push him off on me.
Yeah, that's 45 right there.
It's absolutely insane how people can just brush that sort of thing away just for political points, and it's dangerous, you know. It's absolutely dangerous, but, you know, and once again, it goes to the fact of I don't want to normalize this thing. I don't want to just shrug it off and be like, well, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles, you know, because that's the way someone's life crumbles, you know.
And, you know, for some people, it's like it's normal. I mean, I would say, you know, as, you know, a black woman, you know, not to say that it's normal, but, you know, so many black women have been, you know, victimized or, you know, like just growing up with the body that you have, like, you know, people just don't care. They're like, wow, you know, that's a sexy mama jama, or just like, you know, it just comes out, and it's just like, people don't know how to take it, but it's just like, it's so normal, and it sucks.
It does. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm a feminist, because there are some things as feminists that I don't agree with. I will say that I am a staunch ally. So I do believe in equality for women. I do believe in equality. I mean, just equality for women. I'm still amazed at the fact that freed slaves had voting rights before women did by 50 years. So when people come up and say that women, you know, have it good in America, I was like, I don't know about all that, you know. And when it comes to matters of sexual assault, it's another part where women always get the short end of the stick, you know. Because all it takes is one person to not. I got into an argument with a young woman when I was in, it was like 20 years ago, more than that, when Mike Tyson was up for his rape charge, you know. And I'm from New York. We followed that case closely. We know Mike ain't do it. Everything else in his life he didn't do that. But this woman was so adamant that rape is so terrible that nobody would ever just use it to hurt someone else, to hurt an innocent person. That could never happen. And I was just like, that can absolutely happen. But that's another dangerous precedent, because all it takes is one woman to file a fake rape claim, and it almost seems like it erases 50 actual rape claims. And then it makes people not want to come forward, you know. And that's, once again, that's very, very dangerous. But women always get the short end of the stick when it comes to that. And a lot of people don't really see it that way. They see that women, for some reason, are in a position of power in this sort of situation. And I'm just like, that's absolutely not true. Because if they were in a position of power, they wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. So
that is true.
But in all aspects of, I mean, you know, in politics and entertainment, we don't want to normalize that sort of thing and just say, well, you know, if you're in Hollywood or if you're in politics, you got to play the game. You know, you got to play hide the salami with Roger Ailes. Jesus Christ. The man
I
looks
have
like
a question.
he looks like they pulled him out of a river. Go ahead.
Ladies, what is the cure for sexual harassment? And I'll answer that.
The cure? The cure?
The cure.
Oh, I mean, well, they need to stop harassing people. They need to just stop harassing people. I mean, I went to a university where every week we were getting emails about this one young lady, getting sexually harassed, and then, they were telling us, like, the police department was like, if you don't go, don't do this, don't do that, and it was just like, hold on, like, we understand, don't do this, but some people will sexually harass you if you're wearing jeans, so it's kind of like, instead of telling, the women not to do this and this and that, tell these guys to, control their genitals and their words and all that.
MD Marcus, your response?
I agree with what she said. I don't know that there is a real cure, because kind of going to what has been said already, I almost feel like to be a woman is just to experience sexual harassment. It is so normalized, and the conversation about saying a strong no or a strong stop or walking away, it's like, because it's so normalized, sometimes when you're in those situations, you don't know what to do. You don't know, will this person turn more violent if you reject them outright? Do you have to just kind of smile and giggle and try to, inch away for your own safety, or so that, it doesn't progress? Or I don't know. I really don't know. And so many times, going back to like victim blaming and that sort of thing, and, somebody comes forward and they say, this is my experience, this is what happened, this person did this to me. And a lot of times the answer there is, they blew it out of proportion, or, she took it the wrong way, or, everybody's just so politically correct now, you can't even compliment a woman. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I don't know what the cure would be besides what she said, for men just to stop.
And
it's so normalized. I don't know.
Oh, go ahead,
and that's the crazy thing. It's like, let's see. I'm just speaking from my own experience. You say something to somebody, and then who's to say that it might be deemed sexual harassment? Because it's all about interpretation. It's really not some things are clearly defined, but other things not so much. To say, I like the way your hair looks. Oh, he's sexually harassing me. It's just it's like such a large gamut of gray that it's kind of scary. It's like, you can't be polite, you can't be nice, you can't be a gentleman, it's like, well, you can't be my father's man. You can't be that type of man in this day and time, because of the innuendos or the overall blanket of possibly being accused of sexual harassment.
Now, I know you were just making a point, Blue, but when you talk about being a gentleman, I compliment women. I work from home now, but I used to compliment women on their hair at the office, and that's never gotten me the side eye. That's never gotten me like, it's always gotten me smiles, and which is why I always do it when their hair really does look nice.
I got side eyes for I'm holding the door for a woman. Man, I can hold my own door. Okay, then hold it next time.
Now, that's just a special breed, because if you're being a gentleman is one thing, but you just got to kind of know when you're overstepping that boundary. You can't just say, you can't just come up and just compliment a woman's ass at the office. That's just not gonna fly, And if she
nothing like that, that's crazy.
Nothing like that. No, that's an extreme case, but that's something that'll get you called up to HR. As opposed to complimenting a woman. I don't want you to think that you can't be a gentleman, but there's always a boundary. But it's kind of, I think it does kind of fall a bit to education. It's kind of like the whole thing we talked about last week with teenage pregnancy, and how abstinence states have a higher teenage pregnancy. And education is the key. So, these fathers and these brothers, friends even, have to just kind of sit down with their people and be like, look, you can't talk to women this way. You can't approach women on your job like this. There just has to be a little bit of what do they call it? Each one teach one. Because not everybody got the birds and the bees talk from their parents on how to deal with and how to talk with women. And I remember Patrice O'Neal, one of my favorite comedians, God rest his soul, he said that, jokingly, of course, well, you never know with him, he said men working with women is like grizzly bears working with salmon dipped in honey. And you can't even just take a little bit of honey and just, can I get a little taste? No. But and it may even depend on the environment that you work in. Like I said, when you work in Hollywood, it's just like the wild, wild west out there. Some offices are a lot more conservative.
Yeah, I think like a kindness and a compliment, even if it's not always received, I don't think that can be, misperceived as harassment. I think it turns more into harassment when it takes a sexual tone, an unwanted sexual tone. Like I think that to me is the line. Your hair looks nice, that outfit's pretty, whatever. That's okay, well, thank you. Whether I really want that from you or not, thank you. That's a kindness. That's not anything I'm going to be offended by. But if you compliment a body part or, just any kind of sexual innuendo, that's where I think you start crossing that line.
And I will say I don't compliment women's outfits for that exact reason. I don't go past the hair because especially with people who I don't know, like if it's someone who I know very well, then I can compliment their outfit because they know where I'm coming from. If it's someone who's new, who I don't know, even if I think your outfit looks fantastic, I'm not going to compliment you on it because I don't want that to be misconstrued. So there always has to be a little bit of thought process into what you do, even though being a gentleman or being a nice person, for most people who are that way, it's just automatic. But in certain situations and in certain times, you just have to at least understand how what you say can be misconstrued, even though if you're coming from a place of respect.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Like I wanted to do the hashtag me too, but I didn't want, it made me anxious to think about the concept of people maybe asking me about it, which I don't really have a problem sharing my story, but there may be somebody responding to me, well, you did it to us, you know what I'm saying? Because maybe some of the things I said or I've done have been misconstrued as sexual harassment or may actually have been sexual harassment.
So I get what you were saying before, Blue, about, being held accountable for things that happened in the past when you were younger, but, it wasn't like, talk about like Donald Trump, it wasn't like he was like 17 when that happened. He's like 50, it was like a couple years ago. This man's like 70-something years old. So
yeah, that's no excuse. That is no excuse. He is far beyond the age of being mature. He was just being a jackass. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Don't have an excuse our language thing here. We like to be free and flowing. Shit, damn, fuck, bitch, asshole. We say all the words of that because it makes it more natural.
Well, with that, it just, have you ever had somebody just grind your gears?
Oh yeah, that's why we have this show. POLI-TRICKS is all about the gear grinding in this current administration. POLI-TRICKS was a fun show in the Obama era. It is a travesty in this Trump era. Right, Mark? Am I lying?
It's just nothing but dark skies and sadness all the time. There's no silver linings anymore.
Trust me, I understand. I can relate.
Pressing shit ever.
But yeah, teach people to stop. Just watch out what they say. Like, if you wouldn't want somebody saying it to you, don't say it to other people.
Right.
That's not right at all.
And even your peers, Don't be afraid to go to your friends if you see your friends doing something that's off, and just kind of be like, hey, look, you can't do that,
Yeah. Or a way that you can think about it, like, relating to guys. I'm not trying to say that women don't do sexual harassment, but like a way to think about it is like, if you wouldn't want the same sex to say the same thing to you, then why you think that it's okay to say it to the opposite sex?
Huh? Hadn't thought of it like that.
That don't even make no sense. I don't want no guy talking about, hey, your hair looks good today. What?
Well, I mean, what if he said, "Oh, wow, you know that shirt really makes you look toned. Wow, I've never seen this."
Hey, I give people compliments on their clothes, men and females, and I've actually received a very nice compliment on my ensemble that I was wearing to do for an older gentleman who said, "I like the way you put your shoes together with your shirt." I'm not offended by any means.
Okay, well, what if he say, "Oh, I like the way that these new pants make your curves your body."
Well, I always like to gay.
See, you're fired. You're fired. You're fired. So I'm just saying, you're fired.
That's a little different. I don't like, I don't swing that. I don't swing in that direction.
Okay, so now you see where I'm trying to come from. It's kind of like.
Get it. Okay, I can try. I'm gonna try that experiment tomorrow. See, like, before I say something, I'm like a man said it, and see if that changes my interaction with people in general. I'm gonna do that tomorrow. It's gonna be my homework.
Okay,
hey,
and then when, and let us know how that went too, because I really do want to know. Hey, do a post on Facebook.
Oh, I'll put it in your inbox. I'm not gonna put that out there like that. I'll inbox you.
all I'm gonna say, Blue, is just don't do it to the wrong person, because I don't want to see you home at 2:00 in the afternoon and talk about, well, lost my job today.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But no, I'm not actually going to act on it. Just think about it. It's the thinking process. Like, what would I say to her? And me act like a guy said the same thing to me. Ew, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, like that. I like that. That's a good, you know what? You're a good therapist, Tina from Tennessee.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes this episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. Final words, Mercer.
If you see people engaging in sexual harassment, don't be afraid to pull them to the side. And if they're your friends, you should be able to talk to them. And we'll never eradicate sexual harassment, but we can at least cut it down and let people be comfortable, at the very least.
Indeed. MD Marcus, any last words?
I just appreciate this conversation. I think it's very important to have this dialogue, and I think that does a lot. I think it does a lot to the healing and just to put it in the forefront of people's minds. And like you said, tomorrow you're going to think about what you say to women and that sort of thing. So I'm just glad and appreciate this dialogue.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you for joining us today. Tina, the therapist from Tennessee, what you got?
Well, I mean, pretty much thank you for inviting me on this beautiful Monday night. Thank you so much. Like, I enjoyed the conversation, and I feel like it's really, really needed because, when you think about it, this next victim could be your daughter, could be your little sister, could be your niece, could be your mom, grandma. So just think about that before anything.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. My final words will be, me too, and don't be a victim. If you get your story out there, express yourselves. I think the more awareness we have regarding the situation, the better, the more closer we get to eradicating it. Like Merck said, we'll never eradicate it, but when we bring it to the forefront, when people are able to be more vocal regarding their situations or the things that happen to them or continue to happen to them, then when the dialogue is up there and it's not taboo to talk about it, we can work on getting rid of it or work on eliminating it from our existence. Thank you for listening to this episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. And I look forward to you listening to this podcast now and forever. Subscribe now to The Urban Breakdown with hit shows such as POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies, and 360 Degrees, an eclectic band of hosts talking about the current going-ons and other scenarios that impact us on a daily or weekly or yearly basis. Hey, don't tease me. We have legal weed here in D.C. All right, y'all be good.
All right.
is love.